This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Friday, November 21st, 2025, and I've got the awesome Dean Daly of Mobile Syrup here. Dean, welcome to the show once again.
Thank you for having me back, Miriam. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to talk about tech. It's so fun.
Yes. So I'm in Vancouver. You're in Toronto. We're doing this the Canadian way this time, 100%. So
totally.
yes to that. Listen, a bunch of new phones were announced. Some of them dropped down from their embargo, which is exciting. I want to talk about that a little bit. But I also want to talk with you about the OnePlus 15 again, because, you have your review up on Mobile Syrup. And I covered it last week, but I want to hear your thoughts because the thoughts are interesting. Some different angles. Some people are like, I love it. Some people are like me, I'm a little more like, could be a little better, etc. So, and then the other thing is the big news of the week, the thing that we did not expect at all, even when I was putting the initial list of topics together yesterday, it hadn't happened yet, was the Pixel 10 series gaining AirDrop, well, very limited, but AirDrop support. That is like amazing. So what are your thoughts in general about this AirDrop thing?
I am so excited. I go back and forth between using a PC and a MacBook. I'm currently right now on an iMac. And because I review a whole bunch of different phones, I go back and forth between like a Pixel 10 a lot. Right now I'm on the iPhone Air just because I like how thin it is. But I go back and forth a lot. So it's nice that when I'm on Pixel 10, I won't have any compatibility issues when I'm on my MacBook, which is definitely an issue or definitely can be annoying, especially for, like at an event. When you're trying to like quickly send your pictures to your MacBook.
To somebody else, a lot of us media, like I'm not one of them, but are also iPhone users primarily, right? Some of them. And so it's like, what do you do when you they have a cool photo they want to send you? It's a pain in the butt.
It's a pain in the butt. And so I'm so excited to see any sort of anything working between Google and Apple. It's nice. It's a nice.
So I put a link in the show notes to Allison Johnson's story on The Verge. They use the word cracked, but look, the reality here is that it's not cracked as in hacked. It's cracked as in solved, right? Sometimes you play a video game, you're like, oh, I cracked the level with the boss.
Totally.
So a lot of people are upset because they're like, they didn't crack it. It's not a hack. I mean, it's not a hack, but
no, yeah,
it's a solution to a problem we've all had. So the way it works right now, from what I understand, is part of the regulation in Europe to make Apple not be a monopoly was to kind of ask them to adopt some more open Wi-Fi standards for this kind of transfer stuff. And they did that. In fact, in the same way as Apple is one of the main contributors of the USB Type-C standard, because they're the first to implement it on any device. It was the original MacBook, the 12-inch Retina with a single USB-C port. That was the first thing ever on the market with USB-C. And they are a big contributor to that. In the same way as they did that, yet they kept Lightning on forever after that.
Yeah.
And only switched because the EU forced them to, in a way, on the iPhones at least, because they did the iPads before that. And of course, the Macs have always had USB-C and from that moment on. In the same way as the EU kind of made that happen, they kind of also made that thing happen with the Wi-Fi implementation. So I can't remember what that Wi-Fi standard is called, but there is a Wi-Fi standard that lets files being, basically the kind of whole transferring of airdropping or whatever you want to call it of files. And it's been around, and Apple was one of the main contributors to that, but they never really did anything with it. And then AirDrop is proprietary on top of that.
Totally, yeah.
So what the EU said is that, look, in the same way as you have to support RCS, and that's how we got support for RCS, in the same way as, USB-C, you need to make sure that you support this open standard. And you have our AirDrop on top of that if you want, but it needs to be able to work with other companies. Nobody has done anything about that. So Apple made it happen. I think iOS 26 might be the first implementation of that. But it's interesting because my Mac that I tested it on is on Sequoia, not Tahoe. So that's not the latest version.
No, yeah.
And it still works. So
interesting.
I think it might have been put in at some point in the last 2 years or something. But the bottom line is Google had to do something on Android, right? And that's what happened. They published a blog post saying, hey, we made it happen. And the way they're doing it, to be clear, it's not for AirDrop because you can't, it doesn't require you to be logged into an Apple account and see your contact list and stuff.
Yeah.
You have to put your Apple device into this mode of like, I receive anything on AirDrop for 10 minutes. Like there is a public, open to anyone mode, and it turns off after 10 minutes for security. And if you do that and you have a Pixel 10 device with the latest OS nearby, you can AirDrop from that Pixel. And the other way too, the Mac or the iPhone can see, or the iPad can see the Pixel. I've tested all this. Now, I don't have an iPad, but I've tested it with my iPhone Air, and I've tested it with my iMac, which is not this computer. I have this is a MacBook Air, but I have an iMac that's running, as I said, Sequoia. It's a M3 iMac. It works like a charm. I was able to transfer big video files, no hiccups, both directions.
How fast was it?
About the same speed as normal AirDrop. I mean, it's Wi-Fi,
nice.
right?
Yeah,
it's
totally, yeah.
So, I mean, it depends how fast your router is, right? Like basically at this point, it's peer-to-peer through the router. So I think it's interesting. I'm very excited to see this. I hope that, and I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I hope that Apple doesn't make a fuss about it like they did with Beeper, But Beeper was really hacking and cracking.
Oh, that was very hacking.
Yeah.
That's the different headline. That's a hack headline, not a crack headline.
Exactly. So I tried it. It's great. I've got all 3 iPhones here from the new generation, the Air, the 17, 17 Pro Max. My Air review went up about a month ago. If you guys want to check it out, it's on hothardware.com. And I love that phone because you mentioned you're using it as kind of your main right now. But this is the thing for us, right? We change phones a lot. We change computers a lot. Like I'm mostly a Mac user. Given a choice, my workflow is on Mac, but I have PCs here. I have a Snapdragon machine here. I have an older Intel Core i7 or whatever. The Yoga that has 2 screens. Not folding, but like has the 2 screens, and you can like turn it into a dual display laptop. It's really cool.
Yeah.
From Lenovo, and I got the Snapdragon laptop I have is the Asus A14, which is one of my favorites. Super lightweight.
That's what I'm using.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Yeah. I'm using it because of you.
Really?
I think you told me at like I/O, you're like, or not I/O, maybe the Pixel event, how much you liked it.
It's so good.
And I was just like, I think I'm going to get it. So then I got it.
Yeah, so I got it from Asus, and I've been using it for about a year now. Like they announced it around this, like I think in December last year, just for CES. And then they showed it at CES. So I've had it since since January or something. And so, I'm mostly on Android. My Pixel 10 Pro XL is my main phone right now. My main SIM is usually in that thing, but I'm always carrying a whole bunch of phones. And speaking of phones, we obviously have a bunch of new phones this week. The RedMagic 11 Pro is with us. Your colleague reviewed it. I will link to his story on Mobile Syrup. It's interesting to have a different perspective from, Canadian reviewer for a change. I love it. I have it here, folks. For those of you watching on Patreon right now, you can see the RedMagic 11 Pro in my hands. It's beautiful. It's big. It's the same madness as usual. And look at this. There is a fan. And I just turned it on. And you can see it's glowing blue up here. You see that round thing? Looks like a camera. Mm-hmm. And then look at the liquid cooling, how it's spinning around in there right now.
That's very cool.
So it's air bubbles, right? They did that on purpose. And then there's a whole bunch of blue lights on the sides and stuff. But yeah, it's got this gorgeous, big screen, under display camera. Now the form factor has been the same for a while now. Notice no camera pod. It's perfectly flat in the back. And then, it's got all these graphics, like the RedMagic logo. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's down here. You can see the Snapdragon logo there. I don't know if it's a little faint.
Yeah, I can see it.
There you go. So the point I'm making is this phone is a gaming phone, right? You're not going to buy this phone because you want a proper flagship. The cameras are okay. They're 250 megapixels. There's an ultra wide and a regular OIS on the regular. So not a bad camera system on paper, but the software and the imaging processing is you're better off putting the Pixel camera on this. You can download an APK of that'll run on Snapdragon devices. It's not official, but go to XDA forums. Shout out to our friends at XDA over there, and download the the Pixel camera app and you'll get a better camera experience. But that's not what you came for. You came for the highest level of performance on a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and that's what you get on this phone. I mentioned Patreon earlier, folks. If you don't know yet, there is a video version of this podcast that comes out a day in advance every week, of course. And you can get that for $5 a month on my Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. Go help me out if you can, support me. And that way you can see this beautiful phone, USB-C down there, SIM tray. Oh, guess what? There's a headphone jack. Oh yeah, headphone jack.
So let me ask a question. You said best performance on a 8 Snapdragon 8 Elite. No, I always get this confused. 8 Elite Gen 5. Yeah. You're saying, do you think its performance beats any of the Oppo OnePlus?
100%.
Yeah? Okay, okay.
No, this is, I mean, unless you're Asus ROG phone, might be better than this. But like this has 144 hertz display. You know, it has the liquid. This is the only phone in the world with liquid cooling. And so I'm about to tell you about the benchmark experience. I mean, again, I'm not a gamer. I don't even game that much. So for me to test a phone like this with games, like I suck so bad that I can't play long enough to really test it. So like, you please laugh at me, you know, my audience here, if you're paying attention, you're allowed to laugh at me. But benchmarks give us at least a good idea, right? Like I don't like benchmarks. I don't believe benchmarks. Like I don't really care. Like in my OnePlus 15 review, I had a lot of issues running the benchmarks, especially the sustained benchmark. It kept crashing the phone. You know, I talked to Qualcomm about it, talked to OnePlus about it, but it doesn't matter because when I actually gamed, it was fine. And when I actually used the phone, it was fine. I'm also experiencing some issues here with this RedMagic. It looks like the software from the different manufacturers might need some tuning because, for example, I also have this, you know, Realme we're going to talk about. It's also 8 Elite Gen 5, 0 issues running benchmarks. Solid as a rock.
Interesting.
Now, it throttles perfectly fine. But I think with OnePlus and RedMagic, they're trying to keep the performance really high so they don't throttle early enough. And then it doesn't, the chip doesn't overheat. It's designed to shut down, right? But it gets to that threshold of like, it needs to bail now and stop the app, right?
I've seen that happen for me too.
It kills the app.
Yeah.
So, you know, we noticed that with OnePlus 15, and I mentioned that on my discussion last week. You know, with Anshel, we reviewed the phone together. But this RedMagic also has that to some extent. The thing though is that, you know, it's a gaming phone, so you get capacitive shoulder buttons here on the edge. You get this dedicated slider switch that turns it into game mode. Like if I push this button, I think it's going to make a sound. I don't know if I turned it off, but watch. Slide this thing, but now it's in a game launcher, right? You see, I don't have any games installed there, but you can see that it started like this. So the fan spun up and the liquid cooling spun up. But the liquid cooling is the thing that stands apart here. And in fact, if you look at the ROG phone, you know, it doesn't have a fan. Like you have to put an external fan that's an accessory on it. The RedMagics have had fans forever on their phones. But the liquid cooling is brand new. Does it make a difference? I think it does. Like this definitely doesn't crash as easily running the benchmarks as the OnePlus did. The OnePlus is fine up to a certain room temperature. And then if you go over like, I don't know, it was like something like over 22 degrees Celsius, which is like what, 72 Fahrenheit or something like that. That's when it started like struggling. But below that, it was fine. Same with the RedMagic. So again, this is running benchmarks that are running for half an hour, right? Stressing like, we're talking like
the stress test.
Steel Nomad Lite here on 3D Mark. We're talking like cranking the GPU, the NPU, and the CPU up to 11 for as long as possible to see how bad it's going to be.
Yeah, I did the same thing for the OnePlus, yeah.
So to give you an idea, so those crashes, again, I think this is just a software thing. They're going to fix it. There was a software update for the OnePlus 15. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's apparently coming. I expect the same on the RedMagic. In fact, it just got a software update, I think, last night. So because it rebooted overnight. So I think I'll check that out. But here's the thing, right? This can maintain 90% when it doesn't crash these tests, 90% performance on 30 minutes of cranking everything to 11 because the fan and the liquid cooling, that's unheard of. Like, you know, most phones like that Realme here, it goes down to 50, 60% of its performance after 30 minutes. It gets so hot that, you know, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Slow down everything. The OnePlus did okay.
I think it kept pretty cool for me.
Yeah, it was like 80% or 76, something around there, which is pretty normal. Like that's what we would expect after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But this is a gaming phone, so they're really trying to maintain it as high as you can.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But honestly, look, the RedMagic phones are always delightful. I think if you don't care about photography too much, this would make a great flagship. I don't know the Canadian pricing, but it's $650 US is the pricing starting point, which this is not it. This is the higher end model, the transparent back and the more RAM and storage. But for that price in the US, I think this is you're getting 8 Elite Gen 5. Like, how do you beat that? Right?
It's $1,000 in Canada about.
It's still very cheap compared to like even a OnePlus 15, right?
Totally. And this one looks really cool. So I've seen it in right now through video. It looks a lot cooler than it does in picture.
Yeah.
And I reviewed the last one. I think that one was just black.
The 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. But check it out. Look, see how there's pulsating blue on the trigger buttons.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
You see that? Like it's got all these effects all the way around. Like there's another one here. Look, there's some blue on the side here. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it shows right now.
Oh yeah, I see it just a little bit. Yeah.
Look, it's not for me, but if you're a gamer, that's exactly what you're looking for. RGB, all the things, right?
So I think the RedMagic, I think I have it somewhere here, maybe. I think this is the 10.
The 10 Pro, yeah.
And I just remember complaining in my review that it looks nice, but gamers want things that look kind of cool and flashy and stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool to see that, they took my advice. I mean, I'm sure.
So just so you know, there's always I've been reviewing every RedMagic since day one. They've sent me every single one, as I can say. But not all the different version of the same model. But
totally.
Sometimes I get the opaque one, like the one you have. Sometimes I get the translucent one. They always make both. So the translucent one that you can see, like this transparency effect, like nothing has on their phones, that is always available as generally an extra cost at a higher end tier.
I see.
If they send you the matte, whatever, the one that doesn't have any kind of translucency, you just see the fan and that's it. And maybe some lights on the trigger buttons or something. That's generally the base model. So, same for me, it's been the lottery. Sometimes they send me one, sometimes send me the other. But yeah, that's basically, just be aware that the transparent thing, they've been doing that since pretty much since day one. In fact,
they should only do that.
Yes, I agree. And in fact, I feel like nothing kind of copied them in some ways. I think nothing has more depth and there's definitely more layers.
Well, but not anymore.
Well, not anymore. You're right. I mean, the glyph, but there's still more layers in the sense that if you put this side by side with the Nothing Phone 3 Lite, whatever 3A Lite, the really baby one they just launched like 2 weeks ago, it has a single LED glyph on it. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I haven't seen that one yet.
There's definitely more depth. Like, you can tell. Like the thing about the Nothing phones is I love them. The software is great. But you are getting a thicker phone, like because they're adding that extra layer of depth, right?
Yeah,
whereas with this, it's really shallow. Like I don't know if you can see it here, but there's just one layer, like of slight depth. What you mean. It's not super deep. Whereas with a Nothing, it's like you can kind of see, like a good millimeter
inside
is
of
the
phone.
Yeah. So look, the RedMagic's great. Again, like always, if you want a gaming phone for a good price and you're gaming a ton. This has bypass charging. By the way, the OnePlus 15 also has bypass charging. What does it mean? Is that you can plug your phone in while gaming and the battery won't get charged. So it won't put any stress on the battery. Like it doesn't matter what level your battery is at. If you plug in and you turn on bypass, it runs off the power from the grid, basically. So it saves your battery while you're playing for 3 hours plugged in. Of course, it doesn't charge it at that point, but it's definitely a gamer feature. Laptops have that too, I believe, the gaming laptops. But yeah, so, I think for the price, it's great. If you just be aware the cameras are, again, on paper fine. It's the software for those cameras that really needs some love. And I was surprised because last year, the 10 and the year before the 9, I thought the cameras had finally been sorted. Like RedMagic has obviously improved their imaging pipeline, blah, blah, blah. But this year, maybe again, I'll check with the software update I just got. But this year I went out and took photos and sometimes the white balance was way off. And I was like, this is the kind of thing that normally you don't get that madness anymore. Like, so this is my initial thoughts. It might improve over time. The other thing to keep in mind with the RedMagic phones is you don't expect updates too often. Like, the idea with these phones is you're going to keep it for a year, sell it to a friend, and get the next one next year, because you're not going to get the kind of software updates that you even get on a OnePlus or a Samsung. Never mind a Pixel, right? Like, you're not going to get that kind of awesomeness. So
you think that's why people have these phones? I think it's the opposite. I think these are the guys who like don't even care about the software updates. As long as they get to play their games and the games run smoothly, they're just going to keep using this phone until it breaks, because they don't care about the camera. They don't care.
I mean, you're right. I think there's a group of them that do that. It's just, I think that eventually, you know, you're going to worry about security. You're going to worry about apps not running properly. Like, you know, when it's like after 4 or 5 years, you start getting...
Oh, after 4 or 5 years, yeah. That's almost every phone.
But that's my point. Like, these guys don't care because they update every year. They get a new RedMagic every year, like, and they pass it on to their friends, you know? But I'm just letting you know, in case you're like, ooh, you know, I've been kind of on the edge about buying a RedMagic, and like, just don't expect to keep it very long, because you're not going to get those updates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but also they're big. Like, I love how square they are. Like, I think this design for me works. Like, I'm into this.
I'm not a fan.
I dig it, especially this headphone jack right here.
I do love a headphone jack.
By the way, this is the fan intake, and this is the fan exhaust right here.
Very cool.
By the way, this is another thing. This is the first RedMagic phone that's water resistant, even though it has a fan.
That's impressive.
It's IPX8, so the X means there's no dust protection, right? Yeah. Obviously, because of the fan. But I think if you put it underwater, what happens is the fan stops because the water makes it stop, but it doesn't damage the fan. So as soon as it dries, it restarts. That's a first. They've never done that before. In the past, they were never IP anything. Oh, by the way, look, there's another thing here. This is glowing blue now.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah,
it's full of like RGB lights everywhere.
So saying gamers will love that.
I tell you, this thing's cool. I mean, I like it because I don't know. I like this kind of 2001: A Space Odyssey monolith design they have going. I kind of miss the days when Samsung had the Note phones, like the Note 20 that was so squared off. Like, now they look like iPhones. Even the Ultra looks like an iPhone. And I'm like, fair. You know, actually, that's a good segue to talk about the OnePlus 15. It's like, I feel like I love that, you know, sandstorm finish, you know, the micro arc oxidation that's super durable. Mm-hmm. And if you scratch the back of the phone, you can wipe it off. It's like your keys are going to wear out on the back of the phone before your back of the phone wears out. It's crazy shit. So anyway, the point I'm making is that on the OnePlus 15, it's like, why does it look like an iPhone? Did it have to look like an iPhone? Last year's looked so cool with the 2.5D and the thin rails around it. And then the round camera pod, like this Realme. You know, I like that it had its own vibe. And now it just looks, I mean, the camera pod is a little unique, but it looks a lot like the Pixel 10 Pro Fold and 9 Pro Fold camera pod, just rotated, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine, but like, I feel like they lost some of their
uniqueness. They're like, I also noticed that when I reviewed it, because the 13 Pro looks so nice and it had like the leather and but I think that making it look more like an iPhone makes it more sellable. Like, I think that people might want to buy it more.
I think you make a good point. Yeah, I think there's definitely something about, you know, your friend looks at your phone and it's like a OnePlus 15 and they think you have an iPhone, and then they realize, oh wait, that's not an iPhone. Like, maybe they'll be more intrigued. Whereas if it's completely different, they'll be like, oh, you're one of those Android people or whatever, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But at the same time, I don't like this, you know, things are getting more, you know, homogeneous and narrow. And like Samsung started it in the S23 or 4 series, can't remember. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Ultra was always a little separate, but on the regular and the Plus, whatever it's called, you know, it was always like a copycat Apple, like the last 3 years or so. And then now we're seeing, and it's not just, by the way, it's not just OnePlus. A lot of the Chinese manufacturers are going to copycat, right? Like the Oppo and the Realme here are also, as you can see from the front, like, does this look like an iPhone? Curved edges, yeah, looks like an iPhone, right? So those flat sides. Like some people love the flat sides because it feels easier to hold, but you're gonna put a case on it anyway. So like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I just want more variety out there in terms of design. And
that's fair.
Losing, last year Oppo, because the Find X9 Pro this year is also iPhone-like. So Oppo and OnePlus were very different last year. Even Realme was different, and all three of them this year are kind of like copycat from the front. The back, the camera pods are a little different. Again, copying the Pixel a little bit for the OnePlus. The Realme, though, let's talk about this phone. The embargo lifted now, so I can tell you everything about it. Last week, I talked about the cameras and how I really liked the cameras. This camera pod has 2 screws, as you can see here, and it comes with a screwdriver in the box. And you can remove the camera pod, and the only thing that sticks out are the 3 lenses at that point. And you can put a square camera pod on it, or you can put a translucent. This is metal, but you can put a translucent camera pod. You can 3D print your own camera pod. How cool is that? So that's kind of their gimmick. This particular model is a kind of bluish color with a vegan leather back. And again, the sides are slab sides. This does not have the action button or whatever you want to call it that is on the Oppo and the OnePlus, but it has a Quad HD display, which is higher resolution than the 1.5K on the other 2 phones. It has a slightly smaller battery at 7,000 milliamp hour versus 73 and 75 on the OnePlus and the Oppo. It does have the same camera system as the OnePlus, but that telephoto here is being upgraded to a 200 megapixel sensor. It's not as good as the 200 in the Oppo, because that one's insane. The entire camera system on the Oppo is insane. But it's also more affordable. Like, this is about the same price as a OnePlus 15, and you're getting a better screen, you're getting a better telephoto, a slightly smaller battery. Still get 100 watt wired charging, 50 watt wireless charging, all the trimmings, stereo speakers, blah, blah, blah. So if you're in a market, this is a global phone you can get in parts of the world, not the US and Canada, unfortunately, but if you're looking for something that's slightly different than the OnePlus, and maybe you want more balance, you're not about pure performance and gaming, but you want something that has slightly better cameras, that has maybe a better display, this is your phone. It's about the same price. So same OS roughly, same feature set, has of course Google services because it's a global phone. So I think this is definitely a good product. The cameras though are great. Ryko is their imaging partner. It's got some Ryko GR options here. Let me show you. So you can see here, I'm in Ryko GR mode, and
cool.
You can see how there's 2 preset lenses. Most Ryko cameras are point and shoots and some DSLRs, but they're really well known for their street photography creds. So that's why you get 2 lenses here. Basically, you can't zoom between them. You have to go back into regular camera mode if you want to zoom. But this is the street photography mode, and it has these filters. These are the filters down here. There's a positive, a negative, a black and white, and a high contrast black and white. And this is basically like the same film simulation that the Ryko cameras would offer. So it's kind of cool.
So are you liking this one more than the OnePlus 15?
I do, because what I feel like, and I mentioned this on the podcast last week, I feel like the OnePlus 15 is a gaming phone in disguise, just like the OnePlus 10T was. Remember the 10T came out? No alert slider, all about best benchmarks possible, but it cut so many corners. It didn't have really good cameras. It didn't have really good display. Now, the OnePlus 15 doesn't cut as many corners, and the battery is definitely bigger than this, which in a way is nice, but 7,000 to 7,300, you're talking, anytime you're over 7,000, it's 2-day battery life. Okay?
Yeah, you're doing really good. Yeah.
Let's be real. But the point is that this is more balanced, I think, because of a better display, better telephoto, and it's still not as expensive. Let's almost 1.5 or 1.7 times more to buy the Oppo, right? Like, to get to the Oppo where you really have incredible cameras and Hasselblad, you're paying so much more.
Price difference? Is the Realme more expensive?
This is about the same price as OnePlus 15.
So it's the exact same? Okay.
Roughly. Like, maybe $50, $100 more. Okay. It's not a huge amount more. Okay. And I think in that sense, it's the same imaging engine. They don't call it whatever Detail Max, they call it something else. But
Yeah.
they at least have the Ryko partnership, so it adds a little bit to it. And I found that the images on this are more consistent than the images on the OnePlus.
Okay.
And you definitely get a better telephoto. You can zoom at 120x. All three phones that I mentioned here have 120x. Even though the OnePlus has a 50 megapixel sensor, this is 200, and then Oppo has like a twice as big 200 sensor. They all do 120x, but you see the difference because at 120x, you know, there's less AI involved in this phone than the OnePlus, and even less AI involved in the Oppo because they can get more data.
But
right?
who's really 120x in? I
know,
use
but
it
okay,
once.
you're right, 100%. But I think the difference is when you're at those edges like 20x, 30x, that's when you really notice the difference in those three cameras, right? The OnePlus is struggling a bit, starting to use AI a little earlier, right? Yeah. And then this does it a little later, but the Oppo does it the latest, obviously, because it can capture the most data. Yeah. And so I think, you know, this is a good compromise between spending a ton of money on the Oppo and making some, you know, compromises, I think, with the OnePlus, because as much as I respect their decision to make it a performance and gaming focused device this year, that's not what I want when I buy a OnePlus flagship. What I want is what the 13 delivered. I want the whole enchilada. I want something that is complete. I want something that doesn't cut corners anywhere. You know,
I didn't find the cameras that bad.
They're not, but they're worse than the 13. You can tell the difference. Okay. The Hasselblad color science is missing, all of that. And in that sense, for me, it's what I meant by well-rounded. Like, performance, of course you expect good performance from OnePlus. But I also want, you know, for a long time, it was always about cutting the camera performance down a bit to get better other things. And that's what makes it kind of lopsided of a phone. And now they're back to that in a way. Like, you're right, the cameras are perfectly acceptable, but start comparing them to this, or to the Oppo, or to a Galaxy, or to an iPhone, or to, you know, and then you're like, in certain circumstances. Whereas, here's an idea. Compare it to the OnePlus 13 even. Yeah. The 13 walks all over the 15s in terms of camera.
So if you're in North America, if you're in the US and Canada, and you don't really have as much access to the Realme and the Oppo, then you're looking at really just for the best camera, you're looking at Pixel or Apple. And you want to stick with Android. I mean, Samsung too, sometimes. And
I agree with your take on Samsung. Yeah.
And then you want to stick with Android, you're looking at either, now your option is if you want a good phone, but not as good camera, or a better camera, not as good phone. So if you're someone who wants a good phone, just in general, you're going to go towards the cheaper OnePlus 15.
I agree. But look, here's the thing. If this was a discussion of you're going to buy it because you're on a family plan through TELUS or through T-Mobile in the US or whatever, then I would say Samsung, Pixel, iPhone, right? Because you can get great deals on those. But OnePlus, sure, there's some sales and deals, and especially coming up with Black Friday. But I think that you're not going to buy it through a carrier. So at that point, if you're looking at buying a OnePlus, you're looking at buying full price or financing it with your credit card. Let's be real. You're not going to get a discount from the carrier, right? So if that's the case, buy the Realme. Just import it. Like, why wouldn't you? You know, like, it works. The bands work. Everything is compatible. It's fine.
But at least in Canada, you can just go to Best Buy. Or go to Best Buy's website and get
No, you can go to Best Buy in the US as well, and you can get, they can bundle a plan with it. But it's just, I think our audience, the kind of people who would buy OnePlus are the kind of people who would buy a full price phone.
That's fair.
Right?
Fair, yeah.
And at that point, I say import the Realme. It's a better deal. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Now, are you going to get support? No, but come on, let's face it. Is OnePlus's support known in North America for being great support? Is it Samsung level? Is it even Moto level? I don't think so. Is it Apple level? Not even close. Not even Samsung gets close to Apple level. I think the reality is you buy through your carrier often because you can get a deal, you can get a trade-in, you can get trade-ins on the OnePlus website. Let's be real, right?
Yeah. And but really good ones too.
You buy it because you get a deal, you get trade-in, and more importantly, because you're on a family plan and it's time for you to buy a new phone, you can get that discount, right? Those are the reasons you buy from the carrier. But also the fourth reason a lot of us never talk about because we're tech journalists and we get all the phones. By the way, I love your little those of you watching on Patreon, Dean has a little box of phones behind him. I have exactly the same box. Like, I think all of us tech journals have like drawers full of phones, but we have the current set of phones that we're using in this kind of little, box where you can just pick them out. Like, it's kind of like a presentation box.
Yeah, Nick Gray told me about it.
The fourth thing that we forget about that the carriers do, and even Best Buy to some extent does, is support.
Yeah.
So if you buy a phone from your carrier and it breaks, they have some sort of replacement warranty. You can pay for that.
Mm.
But here's the thing. I know OnePlus has support in the US, but if you buy from their website, even say you get the trade-in discount, how good is support going to be through OnePlus versus buying it through Best Buy? Or even better, if OnePlus was sold by TELUS, buying it through TELUS. Okay. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So at that point, I'm saying you're not getting good support. So then just buy the Chinese phone. Forget it. Like, it's not Chinese, right? Because Realme is a global phone. It's sold in all kinds of markets, but it's a Chinese brand. So I don't know. I feel like, and if you have the money, go for the Oppo 100%. If you're
give the money. We're not talking about those guys.
If you're going to spend $1,300-1,200, like the price of if you're going to spend the price of an Ultra Samsung phone, just get the Oppo.
Just get the 17
If
Pro
you're trying to
Max.
save money and you want to spend OnePlus 15 money, I say get the Realme. But if you are going to be able to get some sort of like carrier deal or whatever through Best Buy, then get the 15. But look, you can't go wrong with the 15. It's a perfectly fine phone.
I like it a lot.
If you're really into cameras and Android and you want all that support and you want to buy it from your carrier,
then get
buy a Pixel.
Yeah.
And then, buy a Samsung as a last resort. Sorry, Samsung.
I wouldn't say that, but
No, but look, I mean, in terms of like supported phones in North America, right? Like, totally. I think that, of course, you're an iPhone user, you can buy an iPhone. So this is out of the conversation. Apple is its own silo, right? But I think that for me, the Samsung phones are phenomenal. I love them. And I think the Z Fold is particularly exciting this year. Mm-hmm. But I think that in the same way as iPhone people are essentially buying a Me Too phone, I think Samsung people are buying a Me Too phone. And I am not Me Too. That is why I would go for the OnePlus before any of these phones. That's all I'm saying. Right. But then I'm beyond the OnePlus being different. I would go for the Chinese import. You know what I'm saying? That's who I am. Right. Yeah. And I think my audience is kind of there, too. A lot
I get
of them.
that. Yeah.
Also, remember, there's a lot of people listening right now that are in Vietnam and in Thailand
around
and in
the world,
India.
Totally. And then
so they can just go to their store down the street and pick up this Realme right now. Right.
Totally.
But look, I think it's interesting because I just want to add before we stop talking about Realme, because I'm kind of gushing because this is a really great phone. It's also the first time that Realme has made a better flagship than OnePlus ever. Like, they've always known their place. Mm-hmm. And the place in the Oppo universe was Oppo gets the best stuff, OnePlus gets second best, Realme is the new OnePlus. They get the discount, the economy, the value equation. And that's no longer the truth with this phone. This is the first phone where the specs are actually better on paper, other than the battery. That's it. 300 milliamp hours, but it's come close before, like the OnePlus 12 and the Realme GT8 Pro. They, I think, skipped 6 and went to 7 and then 8. And so 2 years ago, OnePlus 12, you had almost the same phone, except that it was basically the Realme was a OnePlus 12. Mm-hmm. Exactly, except the ultra wide, instead of being 48, was 8. That's the only way they made it less.
But doesn't the Realme also have a different, or is it this one the Qualcomm? Is this one Qualcomm?
This is 8 Elite Gen 5.
I'm getting my phones mixed up.
No, the Oppo is not the one you should get if you are a gamer and you want the performance. Not because the Dimensity is bad in any way. The Dimensity is really solid. I think the Oppo is an imaging flagship. It really is the camera phone.
It's the camera, yeah.
Whereas the OnePlus is a gaming flagship. It really is a performance phone. And then this is why I love the Realme so much. It's the best of both. It's got the Snapdragon. It's got the better cameras.
So wouldn't the OnePlus not even be the gaming phone? Because wouldn't the Realme just also be the gaming phone?
No, because it throttles. It's designed to throttle. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the same level of cooling. I think that the vapor chamber in the OnePlus is significantly better. Like, I think that they knew when they made the Realme, they're like, we're going to throttle. It's fine.
That's interesting because you'd want you'd want the higher resolution display on the gaming phone. But do gamers care about that? Or
It was a refresh rate thing. Remember,
refresh rate.
They wanted to give us a 165.
Yeah, and then also
you can't do the 165 on the Quad HD.
Yep. And then you also get the touch sensing.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That tri-chip.
It is just a gaming phone, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that tri-chip solution is not on the Realme. And I don't think it's on the Oppo either, right? They might have their own Wi-Fi chip, but I don't think they have the touch chip and the other stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So, basically, look, I know we're talking about the OnePlus 15 a lot, but I think it's more a discussion in the context of I couldn't tell you everything I felt about the Realme last week because the only embargo I lifted was the camera embargo. And I've used the camera a lot more since last week. Theo and I, my producer, we've been going around town taking photos of all the cool light shows that are happening because, it's the holidays. There's all these light shows in parks. You can walk around with your family. And holy crap, the low light performance on this Realme is really solid. Now, mind you, the OnePlus would do just fine too. It's the same, remember, the same ultra-wide and the same main sensor, the same imaging pipeline. Now, you get the Ryko stuff on top, and you get that better telephoto. That's it, right? Like, there's not a huge amount of difference there. But I feel like Realme is tuned a little better. I feel like they spent a little more time. And again, I think there's a OnePlus 15 update coming soon, so maybe they fix some of that stuff. What I'm mostly talking about is you're seeing a lot of noise in low light shots on the OnePlus 15 right now. You have to pixel peep, right? Like on social media, it's going to be fine. Like
everything, totally.
I'm picky here because imaging is a big thing for me. I love cameras, right? So, yeah. But look, ultimately, you have choices with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phones. You can get a OnePlus in the US. You can get that RedMagic 11 Pro if you're a hardcore gamer. Liquid cooling, awesome. You can get the Realme if you want to import it, if you live in a market that sells it. And all three of them have that Snapdragon and are going to perform pretty great, right?
Or you wait till January and get Samsung.
Yeah. There is that. And then the other thing also is there is a Poco phone coming that we're seeing rumors. I have the phone. I can't tell you more, but there's rumors out there. So go check out the rumors on the Poco on the chip, and you'll see that there is other options out there with 8 Elite Gen 5 coming. So the thing about the Poco phone that I have, it's already been launched as a Redmi phone. So it's kind of like,
I see.
If you can't put two and two together.
Yeah. That's like some other phones we might talk about.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of this. There is a teaser from OnePlus, and I believe it was in OnePlus UK. So if you go to UK's website, there is a thing that says, and this kind of surprised all of us, right, Dean? OnePlus 15R coming soon. It's literally telling us it's coming soon. And it's a 15R. Remember the 13R last year? Crazy. So what does that mean? We don't know, right? I mean, obviously, OnePlus is teasing another phone. This, to some extent, doesn't surprise me. Last year, the 13 and 13R came out at the same time.
Did they at the exact same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
CS,
I can remember.
Same. I think you might be right that there was a week apart, but like my point is...
maybe it was more in Canada.
No, I think the embargoes were a week apart. I think you're right. The 13 was at CS, but I think we got the phones at the same time as all. All I remember is that, if there's a OnePlus 15R, I haven't heard anything about it. So other than this thing. So the point I'm making is that this is only interesting to me for one thing. Well, OnePlus teasing us is fun, but in China, we have a phone that was just announced. It's the A6. And then the A6T is now rumored to be coming. And last year, the Ace 5 became the 13R, right? That every year, the Ace number becomes the cheaper OnePlus phone.
So I didn't know this because
that's a given.
I don't have access to.
But what's also interesting here is that it's the first time they're doing a T version of the Ace for China. And so the A6 has launched already. It's pretty high end. It's got an 8 Elite as its chip, not 8 Elite Gen 5, but 8 Elite. And it's got a massive 7,800 milliamp hour battery. So that's been out for a week or two now. But now we're hearing rumors of an Ace 6T, and the 6T has supposedly a Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. Remember that chip that they announced at the same time as the 8 Elite Gen 5? But it's going to be lower spec and we know nothing about it? That's supposedly the chip in the Ace 6T. And it's supposed to have an even bigger battery at 8,000 milliamp hour.
Oh,
Now,
really? Okay, interesting.
keep in mind, this is China, right? There are always a bit of a difference between the Ace phone and what we get with the R phone. They might change some settings, some features in there. But if it's any indication right now, since I don't see them coming out with a 15R in North America, Europe, wherever, worldwide, that has an 8 Elite. That would seem too high end when they just came out with a 15 with an 8 Elite Gen 5. So I'm thinking the A6 that's out there already in China is not going to be the 15R. I think the 6T that we're seeing a rumor of with a 8 Gen 5 might become the 15R.
With the 8,000 battery.
I don't know if we'll get the 8,000
Well,
because
that'd be so cool, though.
I mean, if you do, right? Exactly. Yeah. So we'll find out.
I was so happy with the 7300, but like an 8,000, is that 3 days?
I'm in for it. I have phones that are coming close now from Realme, mid-range phones, and they send me almost everything, and then from Xiaomi as well. And I'm telling you, 3 days is very much achievable on some of these phones.
But then this isn't what we plan to talk about. But then you go back to Samsung, and rumors have it at another 5,000 for next year as well. And you're like, what are you doing?
Look, I think it's they're scared. I think here's the thing I've been saying. It's that
Note 7 fear.
That trauma they have from the Note 7, exactly. Yeah. And they need therapy is what they need. and I also think there's a bunch of things you want to. I talked to the Pixel execs at I.O. about this, and I was angry at them. I'm not angry, but you know me, how I can be like, why are you not doing this? And I was like, guys, why are you not doing silicon carbon? And they're like, oh, that's not, that technology isn't safe and it's not the future. And I'm like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Look, it's been in Chinese phones for 3 years. Honor started it, and now it's on everything. Everything that Xiaomi makes, even mid-range. I literally have a bunch of phones from Xiaomi and Realme here that are $250 with 7,500 milliamp hour battery and charge at 60 watt, 80 watt
That's
for
what
$250.
That's what so many people want.
Like, we're talking about phones with like Dimensity 6300, but they all have like a single 50 megapixel rear camera and like some small 8 megapixel ultra wide and like, 120 hertz 1080p OLED, right? Like no LTPO. Like we're talking basic, solid phones, but these phones charge fast and run for on those chips, they run for 3 freaking days.
Okay, but think someone like my dad who doesn't really take pictures ever.
Exactly.
All he does is just wants the phone to make sure he can make calls on and use GPS. Watch a YouTube video. Perfect.
I think that the Western brands, if we can call them, Google, Apple, Samsung is South Korea. I think that they're chicken about it. They are kind of sitting on their laurels and they're kind of maybe hoping for another tech to come along. The biggest thing I think that they're worried about is longevity and charge cycles. And that is true, that silicon carbon is trickier to charge. A, you need more complex charging circuits.
Okay.
B, they will have less charge cycles, although they're now at parity on paper. But you really need to manage the battery. And I think they just don't have the expertise to do the software to manage the battery and do the charging properly. Whereas the Chinese have been doing fast charging for so long that they're really, really good at it.
Okay.
And also the Chinese have EVs that use silicon carbon batteries. So they know how to do it. They learn from the electric cars that they make that are the leaders in that field.
Well, Samsung
they're the leaders
needs
in battery.
to take notes.
But Apple also needs to take note because look, if the S25 Edge and the iPhone Air this year had a silicon carbon battery, they would have 5,000 milliamp hour battery and they would run with the rest of the pack.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it wouldn't be thicker. It wouldn't be more dangerous. It would just be the same. But they're not willing to do it. And Google certainly isn't willing to do it because their execs were really mad at me when I got mad at them about it.
Oh, did they?
No, they're like, what are you talking about? It's not the future.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're in total denial. I was just like, whoa, like, have you used one of those Chinese phones? They exist, okay?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I think 2026 will be the transition year. If it isn't, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. Because here's the thing. Honor has already announced 8,000 milliamp hour phones. Realme has shown a prototype 10,000 milliamp hour phone that's 8 millimeters thick. That's standard thickness, 10,000 milliamp hour.
Mhm.
So that's where they're going. And they're not going to stop. Not going to stop because Samsung, Apple, and Pixel, Google say so, okay? We're going there, and they better come along for the ride. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind.
So I don't know enough about the Chinese phones, but do the foldables also have these batteries?
Absolutely. The foldable started it.
So that's
because,
why that's why it would be so thin. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Oppo Find N5 that came out 6 months before the Z Fold 7 is the exact same thickness, has better cameras all over the place, has a much better telephoto, and has pen input, and has a silicon carbon battery that's 5,500 milliamp hour. So it's got 25% more battery or 30% more battery. It has pen input, it has a better camera system, and it has Oppo's awesome ColorOS, OxygenOS software on there. You know, with the cool interface that the OnePlus Open had that lets you do the multitasking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On a phone that's as thin as a Z Fold 7, it came out 6 months before. If you don't think the Chinese are ahead of us, that's the reality.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we won't see this battery on the S26 Ultra, which, I mean, according to rumors, we're going to get the same thing.
There's a cost penalty, right, as well, right? Let's be real. Silicon carbon's more expensive.
But maybe we'll get it for the Fold 8 this year.
So I'm hoping that the Air, next generation iPhone Air, that the iPhone foldable, that the next generation folding phones from Samsung, the next generation folding phones from Moto, and the Edge, if Samsung makes an Edge, are all going to have silicon carbon.
Okay.
And then I'll say that we've achieved it. And maybe if Pixel, Google does a foldy phone again that's thinner this time, it'll have silicon carbon.
I don't see Apple doing it. I feel like, because especially like the 17 Pro Max, I don't have that one. I only have the 17 Pro. But I hear the 17 Pro Max's battery is really good, right? What do you think of the battery?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think, look, here's the thing, and I said this in my Air review. The battery life is fine. But fine is not 2 days of battery life like you get. Remember the OnePlus when you tested it?
Yeah.
You forgot to charge it. It didn't
100%.
matter. Like, you didn't care anymore.
It was amazing.
Like, the anxiety you have is gone. And when you plug it in...
40 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. And, and that's the thing. I think that we also have in the West in general, especially in North America, Canada, the US, we have this mentality. We've been brainwashed to charge our phones every night.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Here's the thing you have to understand. You saw the settings on the OnePlus, right? In the battery settings. You can set it to 80%.
Yeah.
If you set it to 80%, you can charge it every night and you won't wear the battery out because it never goes to 100. But why would you care? Because then every day you're ready for 3 days or 2 days of battery life. Even if you charge to 80%, you're going to get 2 days of battery life. So my point is, it's a win no matter what. Whether you charge every night, like you continue doing the same behavior as before, or you charge like I do, opportunistically, whenever you need to, for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're ahead of the game, especially, and that's the other thing, the other shoe that needs to drop for Apple, Samsung, and Google is fast charging. And I'm not talking 45 watt. I'm talking 80 watt, 100 watt, 120 watt.
If you're lucky, I mean, Google, what is it? Is it 20? No, it's 30 or something now.
It peaks at 30 or something, for like 10
Insane.
seconds. So we need 80, we need 100, we need 120, right?
100%.
And that is what also the Chinese bring to the table. And I think that in the same way as people are coming to terms now and starting to understand and realize that Chinese EVs are the best EVs in the world, it's a fact. Once you actually experience how they are in person, you're like, holy crap, we're behind. The same thing's going to happen with these phones if we don't wake up soon.
I just feel like people won't. Especially in Canada.
Well, no, but I think maybe not in Canada. But here's the thing: I think that's happening. We're seeing more and more articles from mainstream media outlets in North America that are saying, "Hey, Chinese cars are significantly better. We're getting the short end of the stick."
Yes,
it's our jobs, Dean, you and I, to educate people, right? And I think that, like, I'm not saying that this is the ultimate solution to everything, but I'm just saying, like, here's a technology that's a low-hanging fruit that solves a lot of problems. Why not explore it at least on some models? And that's all I'm hoping for 2026 to bring to the table.
Samsung used to have, because they used to do S series and then they would do Note series. And Note used to be, they would try things out.
Correct.
And I liked that. I liked that they used to try things out. And they finally seem to be they tried something out this year with the Edge and the Fold 7. So I just keep hoping that they keep trying to be better. And maybe they won't touch their like perfect S series, but if they throw out other stuff, I'm happy.
And you know what? That's totally fine. And I'm not expecting the mainstream iPhones, like the Pro and the regular, to go silicon carbon anytime soon, but the Air needs to go silicon carbon.
Yeah.
Here's an example. Moto Edge 70. Have you heard of that phone?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so European phone, 6 millimeters thick, so a little thicker than the Air, 5,800 milliamp hour silicon carbon battery. Guess what the battery life is going to be on that sucker? 2 days. It's because it doesn't have a flagship chip. It has a Snapdragon 7 Gen 4 or something.
Okay.
So it's going to last even longer.
It's going to last longer,
right?
yeah.
So my point is, that's what we need from the Air. That's what we need from the Edge. Even with a flagship chip in there, if you have to. I mean, when I benchmarked the Edge, it was throttling like insanity. Like, they only put the 8 Elite in there because they wanted to say on the box 8 Elite. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sure, it's fast, but for gaming, it's not the phone you want to use, right?
Yeah, even for basic
same with,
games.
the A19 Pro that's in the Air. It throttles like crazy. Like, it's definitely running at a lower performance level, right, than the one on this awesome Pro here for Max. But anyway, the point I'm making is it's coming. I think it's coming. They have to. And it's going to change people's relationship. But the other thing that might change is we're in a changing economy with this crazy new regime in the US. And I think that Canada is learning. And this is, we're both in Canada, we're both Canadians. Let's talk about the fact that I think Canada's going to open the door to Chinese EVs soon. I think that we want to save our car industry, and we're going to let the Chinese build factories and employ Canadian auto workers with the condition that we can audit their software. And, we have good cybersecurity companies in Canada, like BlackBerry, former BlackBerry, is one of them. And I think that will open the eyes of Canadians, and Mexico already has that. So in Mexico, you can get the Chinese EVs, and it's exactly what's happening. They're built in Mexico, in Mexican factories by Mexican workers, audited for cybersecurity by the Mexican government. And now the squeeze is going to be on the US, because it's going to piss off, the regime down there a little bit, because they're, with tariffs and stuff. But we need to move on as Canadians and save our economy and support ourselves. And partnering with China is the solution, I think. And I want to see those Chinese phones start coming into the TELUS and Rogers and Fido, stores. I
think because of the US politically situation, and because we're trying to distance ourselves, I can totally see this happening.
Yeah.
I can totally see this happening.
And I think once that squeeze is happening, the borders are still going to remain relatively open, I hope, because I'm also a US citizen. I'll spend a lot of time in the US. But my point is, I think what's interesting is that once Americans come to visit Canada, or Canadians go to the US, or Mexicans come to the US, or, Americans go on holidays in Mexico, and they're going to see these cars, they're going to see these phones, they're going to be like, wait a minute, why can't I have that? Like, we live in the freest country in the world where we can get anything we want. Why every time I go to Amazon, I have to pay extra tariffs for the same products? I'm actually at the point now, Dean, where I'm buying most of my Amazon stuff in Canada because the tariffs are lower.
Interesting.
I used to buy it in the States, But the fact that I get less tariffs on Amazon Canada, I'm buying in Canada, man.
You're doing great here.
So the point is, I think it's going to change. I think there's some opportunity there for some change. And I'm hoping we'll see it soon, basically is what I'm saying. We got a couple of more items left here, I think. I just mentioned earlier, the Poco F8 series is coming globally on November 26th. As I said, I have one of them here. I will let you conclude what chip it's using based on the fact that it's essentially going to be a copy of the K90 series, which is Redmi's equivalent phone. As you know, Redmi is the sister brand of Poco in the Xiaomi universe. So I'm excited about this phone, actually, because I think it's going to be pretty cool to have another flagship available for those of you in markets that have Poco. We also have so these are kind of PSAs. We have an Honor Magic 8 Pro that's going global on the 27th of November. This is a phone that's already available in China. You can look up its specs. It's their flagship. I don't have a review in it because, I don't know. Honor doesn't seem to send me anything anymore. I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not big enough for them. But the bottom line is a lot of our colleagues have the phone and they're raving about the cameras,
Okay.
especially. They're raving about the phones in general, but the cameras in particular, they're saying it, it's up there with the Oppo. So consider looking into that when it's available globally on November 27th. And then November 25, we have the Mate 80 series coming. This will be China only because it's Huawei. But I think this is important because let's not discount Huawei, right? Like they are still one of the leaders in terms of technology out there. They come out with some insane phones every time.
What's the
And-
second circle on it?
Oh, that's their design language for their Mate phones. If you look, the middle is just like paint, like it's just black.
Okay.
It's a design thing. If you and I look, it matches the color of the other phones. If you scroll
Yeah,
down on
I
that
see.
in GSMC, it's just cosmetic.
Okay, I haven't reviewed a Huawei phone.
They've been
since,
doing that for I think the Mate 50 was the one that started the circle inside the
Okay.
circle thing. Yeah.
And legit,
And
my
then-
last was 40, so that
So
makes sense.
we'll see what happens on these phones. Looks like they're going to be having a Pro Max. Apparently, Pro Max has taken over China because it started with the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. The last thing I want to briefly touch on with you is this rumor, leak, whatever you want to call it, from
Galaxy
Samsung
glasses.
making Galaxy glasses. Of course, right? Of course they are. What's your
I
thought?
thought Samsung and Google was working with Warby Parker or Gentle Monster.
Yeah, I think it was Gentle Monster. Well, Google is, I think.
I thought
Is
both of them-
Samsung also?
I thought Samsung was working with something like that too.
I think you're right.
So then I saw this leak and thought like this is kind of a weird one. I don't know why Samsung would do it themselves if they don't want to be the one, if they want to be working with a glasses brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, it's cool. I mean, I'm legit buying glasses this weekend. And I'm looking to try, I was thinking about the Evan Realities because I want tech in my glasses. I'm probably just going to go to the Gen 2, Meta Gen 2s.
Yeah, that's probably a solid option.
Safe bet, yeah.
For now, yeah.
But then Meta displays in Canada come out in January, so I'm like, should I just wait? But I need my glasses now, so I can't wait. But I want more glasses. I want Galaxy glasses or Galaxy glasses with Warby Parker or whatever, and I want more of these stuff. Because I don't know if this is going to be the next phone or whatever. I've heard people say that, but I think it's definitely I'm going to find it more useful than a watch. I already wear glasses.
Yeah, same. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm waiting though. I feel like the first generation display products are not going to be great.
Yeah.
I right now I'm actually also looking at, I've got lots of pairs of glasses that I love. These are my Celine.
I
They're
love
great.
yours.
But I am looking at getting a pair of Meta Ray-Bans Gen 2 and put my prescription in them.
Yeah.
Just as to have them around for first person shooting or not like first person perspective, right?
I did that all last year. I actually fell asleep because my prescription's in. I fell asleep and broke my Gen 1s. Like,
Oh no.
Right after Hawaii, I think it was. I was very annoyed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I think it's such if you're going to use tech, it matters as well make it work for you, and you make it work for you by added them to stuff you already wear, like glasses.
100%.
Yeah.
And I wear a smartwatch mostly just for kind of like sleep tracking, exercise tracking.
Totally.
Well, I don't have real exercise, but activity tracking.
Mhm.
And I also wear it for like very filtered notifications. And for that, it's great. But I think for me, the application for the glasses is really the camera on your face. Like for me, so many times I'm trying to make a video of something and I just want to hit record and have it, and have my hands free. And that's what I think would be really great to have. Like, I feel like if I had the Meta Ray-Bans, I would probably have them turned off 90% of the time.
I did too.
I would
Yeah.
turn them on when I need to do a video real quick, and then I would have my hands free and do a video, right? It makes it much easier to make reels kind of like
Fun.
instantaneous.
Engaging.
Yeah.
I did a reel last year on a roller coaster. My glasses are usually off, but as soon as I got on the roller coaster, turned them on, press record, and let's go. Fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dean, we should wrap up. Do you want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet, your various social media handles? Of course, tell them about your work at Mobile Syrup and all that.
Yeah, you can find me at on My Daily Dose on Instagram or on Mobile Syrup. You just search Dean Daily. I'm there. Everywhere on Mobile Syrup. I've been there for so long, so you will definitely be able to find me there. Or yeah, that's pretty much it for now.
Fantastic. Well, listen, folks, read Dean's stuff on Mobile Syrup. Follow him on Instagram. And you know where to find me on the internet. I'm at Tankgirl. That's TNKGRL, like the comic book character, drop the vowels. You'll find me on pretty much every platform as this handle. I'm mostly active on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. I also have a TikTok now, but the handle is slightly different because I couldn't get my handle TNKGRL69. That's my year of birth before you make fun. And so, please find me on social. The podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com or on all the major platforms. So please subscribe. If your app lets you rate or review the show, please consider doing that. There's also a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You'll find some videos there, unboxings, hands-ons, reviews, and some snippets of the podcast that I cut out if they're exciting and fun. So check that out. youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. And you know how YouTube works. So like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, and comment. Most importantly, comment. And finally, there is a Patreon, as I've mentioned. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. That's patreon.com/Tankgirl without the vowels. And if you want to support me, that's the way to do it. As I said earlier, it's very simple. You get episode every week. You get it a day in advance. And you get it for $5 a month. So it's basically $5 a month every week, a day in advance. You get a video version.
Video, yeah.
Yeah, video.
See
you
my
get to see
beautiful
us
face.
hold the phone, see Dean's face, all that fun stuff. Sometimes we go overtime and I leave the extra content in there because I try to keep the audio version a little more condensed. So you get extra content sometimes too. So please consider supporting me if you can on Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. You know I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And Dean, thanks so much for being my guest and coming here all the way from Toronto virtually. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. We'll have you on the show again in the future. And folks, we will have another podcast next week, so stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.